Chapter 531. I want to have children with you. Lin Che climbed onto the bed immediately. The girl they had seen earlier came to mind and she spoke while laughing, but the situation just now was really funny. What are you laughing about? She must have misunderstood us earlier. Misunderstood? Haha, you didn't want to use my identity card and you even had your arm around me while trying to hide me. They must be thinking that we're having an affair. Lin Che lied down and tossed and turned on the bed. So they definitely would have found us strange. Gu Jingze's eyes darted. He looked at Lin Che who had laid down. You're serious? He swooped down and immediately pressed himself on Lin Che. However, now that she had mentioned it, he also thought that they had seemed as if they were having an affair. He kissed her forehead. If that's the case, it seems like we have to make good use of our time. Why do we have to make good use of our time? What do you think? He pressed his lips to her cheeks again and again as gentle as water. Let's have an affair with the time we have. How irritating. Are you being serious? Lin Che pushed him, but despite her words, he still pushed her down and started kissing her. In no time, the two of them melded into one. However, they only realized when they were about to start that they had not prepared anything beforehand. The problem with leaving for a spontaneous getaway was precisely this: they did not know that they would be leaving, so they did not bring condoms. When Gu Jingze remembered this, he said with difficulty as he kissed her, "Oh no, I forgot to bring the tools." Lin Che froze. Then what should we do? Her face turned red. I'll take the pills tomorrow. But taking the pills was damaging to the body. He said, no way. He drew in a deep breath, feeling helpless. He was already aroused and could not calm himself down at all. Lin Che said, actually, the hotel has them. Gu Jingze replied, the hotel has them. Yes, they sell them here. They'll bill it to the room tomorrow. Sure enough, he turned around and there they were. The Gu family's hotel did not have them. If the customers needed them, they could ask the hotel staff to send them over. On the headboard, there was a box that contained the condoms. However, they did not seem to belong to a proper brand. Gu Jingze could not be bothered anymore. He took a condom out and wanted to put it on but realized that he was too large and could not fit into it. The two of them looked at each other in dismay. Lin Che thought in disbelief, how is it possible that he could not fit into the condom? She asked, why is this happening? Gu Jingze smiled and whispered suggestively into her ear, it goes to show that my size is larger than the average person's. The hotel's condoms only fit ordinary people. They don't really work for me. Lin Che blushed and said, get lost. Of course, that's not true. Why are you so big? You're very lucky that the first man you met is a man as exceptional as me. So you wouldn't know that ordinary people can't give you the experience I've given you. Lin Che's face flushed even more at his words. But as she looked at him, she indeed felt that he was very big. Was it a good thing? Lin Che turned around to avoid looking at him. But her heart ached when she thought to herself, it was true that she was very lucky that the first man she met was so formidable and impressive. Each time they did it, she fainted and recovered consciousness several times. Gu Jingze lay down and said, then, forget it. Let's sleep first. Lin Che looked at his calm face. Sleep, are you sure? Gu Jingze said, what else can we do? He was right. Usually, they took the proper measures. She was slightly disappointed, probably because she thought that he was really doing all that he could to avoid getting her pregnant. He would not allow a single accident. She said, all right then. Go to sleep. Gu Jingze smiled and asked, why? Are you so resentful that I can't satisfy you? Lin Che merely looked at Gu Jingze. I just find you very impressive. Aren't men animals who think with their lower halves? But you can control yourself for the sake of not getting me pregnant. Gu Jingze looked at Lin Che. Because I won't make you pregnant when you don't want to have kids. We won't have kids if you're not ready. Otherwise, an accidental pregnancy will hurt you immensely. Abortion is so harmful to your body. I won't let you suffer that kind of pain just for my momentary pleasure. Lin Che's heart twitched. He said that he would not make her pregnant by accident if she was not ready. Her mind and her heart were both immensely warmed by his words. She felt as if a warm current had suddenly rushed through her entire body. Momentarily flustered, she looked at him directly while blushing. Her mouth moved and she mumbled, "I'm not against it either. I can't say that I'm not ready." It was just that she had never thought about giving birth. Gu Jingze's eyes flashed. As he looked at Lin Che's blushing face and how she had immediately picked up a pillow and covered her face with it out of regret after saying those words, his heart froze. A thrill of joy coursed through his heart. This Lin Che. Did she even think before speaking? Did she know how attractive it was to a man when a woman said that she was willing to bear him children? Even when he had lost all reason, he was always thinking that contraceptives were necessary. This was a matter of principle, but today. Immediately, he had thrown himself onto Lin Che's body. Before Lin Che could even react, his lips were already on hers. He was kissing her lips, her neck, her collarbones. He wanted to mark every inch of her body and leave no skin untouched. Lin Che went into a complete daze. All thoughts flew out of her mind instantly. She merely drew in a deep breath, completely infatuated. How could she reject him when he was so good to her? Which man would say something so thoughtful? So many men would lose their rationality at a moment like this and toss everything aside. He was the only one who would always remember what was the greatest harm one could cause to a woman. He could not bear for her to take birth control pills, so he was prepared to just hold his desire in. It made her feel very touched. The fact that he was so concerned about her could only mean that he really cared for her. That was why he was so considerate of her. It was only when they finally melded into one that he truly felt what it was like to release himself into her body. He was nearly captivated by the deep satisfaction. This woman. She had always captivated him greatly. But what were they to do now? If she got pregnant? As she lay in his arms, she still could not imagine what it would feel like to be pregnant. She was only thinking about the possibility of giving birth to his children. To be honest, it would really be great if she could give birth to a child like him because he was so handsome and so perfect. If a boy resembled him, he would definitely be very handsome and very adorable too. In fact, she did not feel any aversion towards it. But forget it, she should stop letting her imagination run wild. Getting pregnant was not like sowing seeds, it was not as if she could get pregnant immediately. Chapter 532, Public Displays of Affection in the Small City. He was so sweet to her. They slept through the morning and only woke up in the afternoon. The sunlight in the city was great. There were no particularly loud sounds, unlike in B City where there was noise everywhere. After waking up, Gu Jingze kissed Lin Che and woke her up. Lin Che opened her eyes blearily. Then, Gu Jingze said, "Wake up and wash up. We'll eat something later." "Eat what?" Lin Che asked while rubbing her eyes sleepily. "I'll call for room service," Gu Jingze said. Oh. Lin Che was still in a daze as she sat up and looked at Gu Jingze. Gu Jingze had already walked out of the room and opened the main door to call for someone. The hotel staff had long heard about the super handsome man staying in this room. The news had already spread to all the staff at the hotel that morning. Hearing him call for someone, a hotel staff quickly came to the room. Sure enough, she was not disappointed when she saw Gu Jingze. She immediately asked, "Sir, is there anything you need? Can I order food?" "Ah, our hotel doesn't provide that service." "You don't provide it?" Gu Jingze had never really stayed in a hotel of this level, so of course, he was not too sure about how they worked. "Breakfast ends at 9 o'clock. We don't take any orders after that time." Gu Jingze could only say, "Forget it, then. Is there any way for us to order some food?" "You can call for delivery. We have a list of delivery options here." "All right then, thank you." Gu Jingze closed the door. Outside, the staff immediately covered her mouth and started jumping. She told everyone else that Gu Jingze was really very handsome and said that the receptionist had not been lying. Gu Jingze returned to the room with the list in hand. He looked at the list in slight confusion. Lin Che sat on the bed and asked, "What's that?" "The hotel doesn't take orders." Lin Che responded in disbelief. Did you think that all hotels are like your 7-star hotel? Your hotel can provide extraordinarily delicious food at any time because it has its own food and beverage division. Name it and they can make it. A small hotel like this one doesn't have that. The staff must have found him very strange when he asked about ordering food earlier. What food? Why did he want to order food? Gu Jingze said, but they gave me this. Come and take a look. See if there's anything you want to eat. Lin Che nodded her head. Anyway, she often called to order takeout. She said, there are too few options on this list. We can just use our phones to order takeout. She whipped out her phone and opened the application for ordering takeout. Sure enough, there were many options for delivery in the application. The prices seemed very cheap. Lin Che giggled and asked Gu Jingze what he wanted to eat. Gu Jingze said, anything. Alright then, I don't think there's anything here that will satisfy you completely. Just bear with it and eat a little. Lin Che randomly selected 2 dry dishes and a soup dish before ordering rice as well. Thereafter, she immediately collapsed listlessly onto the bed. Oh my days, where I don't have to wake up early in the morning, are simply great. Gu Jingze said, if you don't like waking up early, you can stay at home every day. Forget it, I wouldn't feel comfortable if I really lived such a life. A day when I can sleep in only feels great once in a while after I've been busy for so long. It's like that with food too. It would be boring to eat exotic delicacies every day. We would only be pleasantly surprised if we were to eat them once in a while. Gu Jingze shook his head and looked at her. Alright, quickly get up, then. He extended his arm to pull her up. Stop lazing around. Go and wash up first. Lin Che sluggishly went to wash up. Just then, it seemed that the food had arrived. From inside, Lin Che heard the noise and shouted, Gu Jingze, quick! Go and get the food. Gu Jingze opened the door and saw a delivery man and hotel staff member standing at the doorway. Inside, Lin Che asked, is the food here? Lay it out on the table. I'll be done soon. Gu Jingze said, alright. He gestured for them to bring the food in. The hotel staff member was not the same person that had come earlier. Again, she looked at Gu Jingze with her eyes shining. She placed the food down and said cheerfully, enjoy your meal, sir. Gu Jingze nodded his head. He found it strange that 2 people were needed to deliver this small amount of food. He closed the door, still confused. After the door was shut, the hotel employees started jumping up and down. Seeing that someone was here to deliver food, she had quickly seized the chance to take a look at him and actually managed to see him. Several staff members working on the other levels came to probe. They smiled and asked, is he really so handsome? He's ridiculously handsome, ridiculously handsome. It's a pity that he already has a girlfriend. He was with a woman. But of course, a handsome man is a handsome man. He was so gentle towards his girlfriend too. He followed his girlfriend's commands and laid the food out for her. Good lord, he's too sweet. The food was neither good nor bad. In any case, they just made do with it. The air turned nice and cool in the afternoon. Lin Che and Gu Jingze finally left the hotel. There were very few people outside. Seeing that the weather was so good, Lin Che could not help but sigh, oh my. This feels great. Life in a small city is actually so easy and comfortable. My thoughts exactly. Gu Jingze looked at his surroundings. He really felt that the environment here was actually great. The city was not so densely populated too. He looked at Lin Che and pulled her hand into his. Don't run off on your own. After all, you're not familiar with this place. Try not to get recognized. Okay. Fortunately, Lin Che did not really have any stalker fans right now. The male celebrities probably had more stalker fans. Stalker fans were fans who liked to follow celebrities around all the time, to the point where they were already invading the celebrities' privacy and secretly prying into the celebrities' private lives. Their conduct was really inappropriate. Although one could understand that they liked these celebrities and could not help themselves, liking someone should mean wanting the best for them and not hurting them instead. Luckily, female celebrities really did not have that many stalker fans. Therefore, Lin Che had yet to meet fans like these and was never worried when walking on the streets. Lin Che and Gu Jingze held hands as they walked around the leisurely city. She was not worried at all about being recognized. Since the weather had turned nice and cool, the food street and the night market were already open for business. It was different from the noisy night markets in B City. Although this place was also noisy, everything was particularly simple. Lin Che pulled Gu Jingze along with her. Let's go and get lamb skewers. Gu Jingze said, be careful. The street is full of people. Don't worry. Lin Che ate while walking through the market. Soon, she saw an arcade on one side of the street. She immediately pulled Gu Jingze to the arcade. Gu Jingze asked, do you know how to play these? Looking at the various types of games, Gu Jingze was doubtful that she knew. Lin Che said, of course I know how to play these. I'm extraordinarily good at them. Come on, I'll help you catch some fish. She first went to buy a pile of tokens. After inserting the tokens, she played the game and got a pretty good score. Extremely satisfied, she said, you probably don't know how to play, right? Indeed, Gu Jingze did not know how to play, so he shook his head. Lin Che immediately said, that's awesome. I've finally found something that you don't know how to do. Come, let this senior teach you. Chapter 533. Gu Jingze was the king of the claw machine. Gu Jingze watched Lin Che from the side before personally trying it out. Lin Che said, come, let's compete to see who catches more fish. Gu Jingze said, alright. She had only let Gu Jingze have a hand at it once before starting the match. She was such a bully. Gu Jingze knew that she was intentionally taking advantage of him. However, he merely glanced at her and did not say more. In the beginning, Lin Che was still winning. However, before long, she saw Gu Jingze's score increase rapidly. He soon surpassed her. Anxious, she quickly focused more of her attention on the game. However, she still could not surpass Gu Jingze beside her. She pursed her lips gloomily and even tried to snatch his fish away from him. However, he was able to evade her each time. On the other hand, Lin Che did even worse because she was occupied with obstructing him. Before long, she lost to him. Lin Che said disbelievingly, you lied to me. You obviously know how to play this. Gu Jingze asked, why would I lie to you? Lin Che looked at him defiantly and huffed. Again. Gu Jingze nodded and started to compete with her again. However, he played even better this time. The moment he started he was ahead of Lin Che and never allowed Lin Che's score to exceed his. From then on, his score was consistently higher than hers until the game ended. Lin Che looked at him skeptically. He was seriously bad at forging friendships and did not even know how to give in to a girl. However, he was a really fast learner. Although she was angry, she could not help but be in awe of his skills. This man's intelligence truly crushed hers completely. Lin Che huffed. When she lifted her head up, she saw the claw machine opposite them. Hey, since you're so good at games, go get me a plush toy from the claw machine. Hearing this, Gu Jingze looked up and said, I don't really know if I can. Go and give it a try, but it is indeed a little difficult. Lin Che pulled Gu Jingze towards one of the claw machines. Lin Che started off by giving Gu Jingze a demonstration. I'll give it a try and show you an example. After one try, the toy ended up dropping from the claw very quickly. She did not succeed. Lin Che said, oh no. I was so close. Gu Jingze shook his head. Far from it. Lin Che glared at him. You do it then. Gu Jingze also gave it a try. However, he did not succeed and the toy similarly dropped to the side in no time. Lin Che scoffed. See that? This is really difficult. I've never succeeded before. Just then, a couple appeared beside them. The girl was saying noisily, I want that doll. Quick, get that Pikachu for me. The boy said, don't worry. I'm not leaving until I get the doll. Hee, that's great. I'll hold you to it. Lin Che glanced at them. The boy was quite young but looked very regal. It was likely that he was from a pretty wealthy family. She did not continue staring. She merely glanced at them before turning back to give Gu Jingze directions in operating the claw machine. However, the girl immediately noticed Gu Jingze beside her. She glanced at him first before nearly shouting in surprise. Her eyes were twinkling as she looked him up and down secretly. Nevertheless, her boyfriend noticed her actions. He looked at Gu Jingze before shifting his gaze to the smitten expression on his girlfriend's face. Feeling a little unhappy, he immediately rolled his eyes at Gu Jingze. Just then, Gu Jingze failed his second attempt. Lin Che said, "Oh no, what a pity. You were so close." Gu Jingze smiled and said, "It's alright. You'll definitely get it next time." The man beside them scoffed. As his girlfriend was still staring at them, he immediately pulled her towards him. Come, watch me get one for you." This time, he just so happened to grab a hold of a doll and actually succeeded. Although it was partially due to luck, his ego immediately began to soar. The moment his girlfriend actually saw a doll come out from the machine, she shouted in excitement even though it was not the Pikachu that she wanted. "That's great. How wonderful. You're so awesome, hubby." The man snorted and cast a sideways glance at Gu Jingze. Of course, sometimes, looks aren't so important. Especially now, when there are so many sissy men. Look, men like us are the capable ones. How petty. I was just taking a look. What were you looking at? The ones who look good are all sissies. What's so good about them? I hate you. Look at how useless he is. He couldn't even get one doll after playing for so long. If you were his girlfriend, you definitely wouldn't get any dolls. You would only be watching other people get them. Lin Che did not expect him to be such a blabbermouth. She turned her head to look at him. However, she did not dare to reveal any more of her face as she was wearing a mask over her mouth. Thus, she simply glared at him before turning away. Initially, she thought that he would leave after he was done showing off. But she did not think that he would look at Gu Jingze and provoke him directly. Hey, stop playing. It's difficult to operate a claw machine. Do you think that an ordinary person can succeed? The success rate is something that even the owner of the shop has carefully calculated. Otherwise, he would just suffer a terrible loss. Those without technique can't succeed. Lin Che glared at him. Hey, can you keep quiet? No one is as nosy as you are. Beside him, his girlfriend tugged at him to leave. Enough, hubby. Just leave them alone. Let them play if they want to. There's nothing they can do even if they don't succeed. You're right, not everyone is as impressive as me. Yes. My hubby is the best. But just then, Gu Jingze calmly said all of a sudden, "Don't move." Hearing this, Lin Che turned around. Similarly, the couple turned around. Only to see Gu Jingze nudging the doll with a poker face. The concentration on his face was evident from his side profile, carrying with it mesmerizing confidence. The next thing they knew, the doll dropped out of the machine accurately. He had finally succeeded. Lin Che instantly jumped for joy. Wow, you got one. That's fantastic. It immediately sent the man behind them into disbelief. They watched him deflate a little and say to his girlfriend, "Luck, it was just luck. Just watch." Lin Che turned around to glare at this tactless man. However, Gu Jingze seemed not to have heard his words at all. He simply asked Lin Che, "Which one do you want? Are you going to continue?" "Yeah, we still have a lot of tokens," he said quietly. "Alright then, I want that Doraemon," Lin Che said while pointing to a blue plush toy inside. Gu Jingze looked inside the machine in concentration. After gazing at it for a while, he began to operate the machine. The man was still watching them from behind. His girlfriend was also gazing at them in rapt attention. When she saw how focused Gu Jingze was, she momentarily felt that he was giving off an enthralling glow that made her unwilling to shift her gaze elsewhere. Lin Che was staring unwaveringly at the machine. Sure enough, she saw the claw accurately clench around the big blue doll. Then, the Doraemon dropped out of the machine with a thud. Ah, fantastic. Lin Che looked at Gu Jingze happily. After taking the Doraemon from him, she said, "I didn't think that you would actually succeed. What else do you want? Will you be able to get it? But why weren't you able to get it the first 2 times? I was practicing," he continued, "I was getting used to it." Was he saying that he had not been able to succeed the first 2 times only because he was getting used to it and practicing? So now that he was familiar with the machine, would he be able to get many more dolls for her? Gu Jingze was so impressive. 2 short attempts were all he needed to grasp the techniques immediately. Chapter 534. He was so handsome that everyone was smitten. Behind them, the man's expression changed instantly. He looked devastated as if he had been slapped in the face. But at the same time, he looked like he was reluctant to believe it and wanted to continue provoking Gu Jingze. So he said to his girlfriend beside him, "It's a coincidence." A coincidence, you know. Even his girlfriend did not believe that there was actually a person who could succeed every time. Gu Jingze stayed silent and only continued speaking to Lin Che. "Which one do you want this time?" "Ah, I want this one. This bear." Lin Che looked at it joyfully. Then, she looked at him in amazement, feeling very confident in him. She knew that Gu Jingze never started a battle that he had no guarantee of winning. At the same time, she wondered if he could really succeed every time. He nodded his head and assessed the situation before starting up the machine again. Lin Che watched as the toy bear inched closer towards them and dropped out of the machine in no time. Then, she sprang up and started cheering again. "Good Lord, you're so good at this. You're so good at this." The man behind them now had an indescribable expression on his face. His girlfriend was also furiously nudging his elbow. Slightly envious, she looked at them and in particular at Lin Che's expression of complete delight. On the other hand, behind them, Gu Jingze continued to ask, "Which one do you want next?" "Ah, I want this white one. After that, this blue sheep. After that." Before long, Lin Che's arms were completely filled with toys. Furthermore, many people around them had finally noticed this master of the claw machine. Each of them looked on from behind while pointing at the machine. "Wow, this person is so good at the claw machine. Exactly, exactly. It's only been a while, but he only failed a few times and succeeded all the other times. He's fantastic. And he's so handsome too. He's a boyfriend who can do anything." "Precisely. I'm so envious. Just look at her boyfriend." Everyone became infatuated with Gu Jingze. Gu Jingze was completely unaffected by them and continued focusing all of his attention on the claw machine. The couple that had been standing there and talking had even been pushed to the side. Right now, that girl was still looking on enviously. She did not even glance at her own boyfriend and was merely staring unwaveringly at Gu Jingze with her lips pursed. How handsome, how romantic. He could get his girlfriend whatever she wanted, and he even had such a perfect appearance. He was calm, collected, and did not boast at all. On the other hand, her own boyfriend. "That's enough, stop looking. Obviously, he's dirt poor. He can only rely on these tricks to woo girls." The man beside her angrily pulled her away. But his girlfriend scoffed and said, "Forget it. You speak as if you're rich. But your family merely runs a washing garage. Let me tell you, just look at him. All else aside, his shoes alone are from a luxury brand and are worth at least tens of thousands. Furthermore, the clothes his girlfriend is wearing are all from top quality brands too." Humph. She stomped her foot before heading straight outside. The man turned around angrily and glanced at Gu Jingze. But there was nothing he could do about it either. Therefore, he quickly ran after his girlfriend. Lin Che's arms were completely full. Over on the other side, the owner of the arcade had noticed them as well. One of the employees brought a huge plush toy to them. He looked at Gu Jingze and said, "Sir, you're probably ranked first at the claw machine for this year. You're the best we've ever seen since our arcade opened. This plush toy is a reward that we're gifting to you." Lin Che was extremely happy when she saw the huge teddy bear. "Wow, that's great." Seeing that Lin Che's arms were full, Gu Jingze took the teddy bear and said, "Thank you." Lin Che looked at Gu Jingze. "Alright, since we can't hold any more, let's go back to the hotel first." "Alright then." Gu Jingze stopped playing amidst cheering from the people around them. "He's fantastic. Keep going, you're so good at it. How handsome. I envy your girlfriend." Lin Che's lips were pursed as she followed him out. She looked up at Gu Jingze only to see his nonchalant expression. She smiled and continued walking. They hailed a cab at the entrance and returned to the hotel. Lin Che grinned from ear to ear as she looked at the toys. I didn't think that you would be that good. Hee hee. The man behind us couldn't keep his mouth closed while watching you. Serves him right for having nothing better to do than talk about you so rudely. Gu Jingze smiled. Actually, you'll succeed if you just estimate the angle, get used to the lever, and always use the same amount of force according to the angle. Even if you fail the first time, you can just move the toy a little and get it out the second time. That's usually all it takes. It's pointless for you to tell me. I always follow that strategy but fail anyway. Alright then, this is just like shooting. Each gun has its own feel to it. If you can grasp that feeling, then you'll be able to hit the mark every single time. But I don't know anything about shooting a gun. Forget it. Of course, it's useless to tell you this. There's no need for you to learn it anyway. Precisely. When I want a toy from the claw machine, I can just ask you to help me get it. Lin Che was so happy that she pressed herself to Gu Jingze's side. Gu Jingze lowered his head and kissed her lips. That night, the two of them went out to eat again. They were not planning to stay here for another night. Furthermore, they had had enough fun on this spontaneous trip. Thus, they drove off into the night and returned home. After returning home, Lin Che could still see comments on the internet talking about celebrities' intentions on the red carpet at the Golden Awards. Yu Minmin also called Lin Che to tell her that someone had posted old photos of her on the internet. They were photos of her going into and leaving the airport for her promotional activities, posted as part of a discussion about the fashion sense of several celebrities in private. Everyone said that the way a celebrity dressed in private was the only thing that reflected his or her unique tastes. Thus, many celebrities had to dress themselves properly in private as well. As long as they were going outside, they had to think about what to wear. In private, many celebrities also had their own stylists so that they looked good whenever a photo was taken of them. As there were very few photos of Lin Che in private, some of the photos were of her leaving the film set while others were of her at the airport on her way to a promotional event. However, it was obvious that all of her clothes were branded. It made everyone envious. Everyone compared Lin Che's casual shots to Qin Wanwan's and realized that Qin Wanwan's clothes were also branded. However, the names of the brands were clearly displayed on her clothes. Lin Che wore clothes from a different fashion label each time, some even belonging to luxury brands which kept their names hidden on the clothes, but were much more expensive. Matched with Lin Che's casual style in private, she looked very laid back like a wealthy debutante. There was not a trace of pretentiousness in the way she dressed. It seemed as if this was part of her daily life. On the other hand, Qin Wanwan looked like she had intentionally dressed up each time she was photographed. All of the clothes that she had selected were the most popular designs of the season. She looked as if she was about to throw on all the branded clothes. Of course, no one knew that Lin Che did dress like this in her daily life. She did not even know what brands her clothes were from. She had randomly taken them from her wardrobe. All of them were purchased by the butler and she seldom paid attention to them. Lin Che was not bothered by the photos and rested at home for a day. The next day, when she left the house planning to go to the studio, she was waiting outside when she saw a luxury car stop in front. And the person who alighted was unexpectedly Mo Hilling. Chapter 535. Of course I believe you, Gu Jingze. Lin Che froze. At first, she thought that Mo Hilling was merely passing by. However, she did not expect Mo Hilling to head straight towards her after catching sight of her. She obviously came here to see Lin Che. From time to time, Mo Hilling would see Lin Che on television. She had seen so much news about her and was aware that she was unexpectedly furthering her career. She had turned from a nameless celebrity back then into a famous film star today. Furthermore, she was actually still together with Gu Jingze. With her eyes narrowed, Mo Hilling walked towards her. Miss Lin, long time no see. Lin Che looked at Mo Hilling. She looked a little haggard, but everything else about her was the same. In particular, the look in her eyes was still as revolting as ever. What do you want? Lin Che said rudely. Mo Hilling sneered and looked at Lin Che. I have a piece of good news for you. Good news. Yes. Oh, but it may not be good news for you. What exactly are you getting at? Lin Che thought that she couldn't possibly be bringing any good news. I'm pregnant, Mo Hilling said. Lin Che's eyes wavered. Mo Hilling said, I just got pregnant. I'm barely 2 months into my pregnancy. Don't you want to know whose child it is? Immediately, an ominous feeling rose in Lin Che's chest. But it was impossible. It was definitely false. Gu Jingze could not have continued to have any contact with her. Lin Che absolutely believed in Gu Jingze. The child belongs to Gu Jingze. A sinister smile appeared on Mo Hilling's face. Lin Che's eyes twitched. That's impossible. Mo Hilling broke out in laughter. How is that impossible? I can understand why you don't believe me. But the child is indeed Jingze's. Back then, Jingze specially stored his sperm because he was ill and couldn't touch me. It was to artificially inseminate me in the future if he never recovered from his illness so that I could continue the Gu family bloodline. Mo Hilling looked down at her stomach and stroked it. Right now, the product of the love between me and Jingze is inside. It represents his love for me. After leaving Lin Che's studio, Mo Hilling immediately called Li Mingyu to tell him that she was back. She had not felt so at ease for such a long time. She felt extremely invigorated, especially when she saw the devastated expression on Lin Che's face. When she met up with Li Mingyu, he had an expression of complete fury on his face. Why did you go and look for her? I told you a long time ago that the time isn't right yet. Now is not the right time. Why isn't the time right? Mo Hilling shouted, I've waited for so long before finally having Gu Jingze's child. I've waited too long and couldn't wait any longer. Humph. This time, I'll make Lin Che, the members of the Gu family, and all those people who looked down on me in the past, take a good look. Right now, I'm pregnant with the Gu family's flesh and blood. This child is the first grandson of the Gu family. The successor to the Gu family. However, Li Mingyu could not be bothered with her at all. He snapped her out of her reverie and said, the child is only 2 months old. If they make you abort the child, you'll have no choice but to abort it. How can they possibly make me abort it? This is the Gu family's flesh and blood, you know. You. What's wrong with me? You were the one who readily agreed to help me at the start. You said that you would find out where Gu Jingze stored his sperm, but in the end, you dragged the matter for so long. Li Mingyu had not intended to take so long. His face was gloomy when he remembered this, but he felt so guilty that he did not dare to look at Mo Hilling. He had initially thought that he could change Mo Hilling's heart and mind over this period of time so that she would willingly be with him. Who knew that the only thing on Mo Hilling's mind was Gu Jingze and that all she wanted was to quickly become pregnant with his child. But how could it be so easy to find out where Gu Jingze stored his sperm? His doctor had kept it so safe to the point where it was impossible for outsiders to know where it was. In the end, he was left with no choice. He passed his own sperm off as Gu Jingze's and gave it to her. At the time, she had been very excited and immediately arranged for artificial insemination without caring about the fact that she was still a virgin. Li Mingyu had thought that if she knew that she was pregnant with his own child, it would be difficult to abort the child after some time. Perhaps she would stop thinking about Gu Jingze and get together with him on the child's account, but who knew? That she was unable to hold herself back and had actually gone to tell Lin Che. Seriously. Li Mingyu did not know what he should do now. At home. Leaning against the wall, Lin Che mulled over Mo Hilling's earlier words. At this moment, Gu Jingze walked in quickly after just finding out about the situation. Lin Che looked at Gu Jingze and stood up immediately. Gu Jingze's expression was ice cold. He asked, did she really say that to you? Lin Che said, it's all right, it's all right. Gu Jingze, it's not your fault. I've thought about it. Even if she's pregnant with your child, it's not your fault either. No, that's impossible. Gu Jingze pulled Lin Che to him. It's true that I stored my sperm for future use. But it's placed in a very safe place that's impossible for others to reach. It's in Chen Yucheng's care and the place where he stored it is not easily accessible by ordinary people. Furthermore, he and I are the only 2 people who know about this matter. Outsiders can't find out where it is. Hearing him say this, Lin Che was very confused as well. Then, what exactly is happening? Gu Jingze said, so, I'm absolutely sure that it's impossible for her to have my child. Lin Che frowned. I'm willing to believe you. But why did Mo Hilling say that she probably knows that you stored your sperm, right? That's right, I did indeed tell her back then. But I've never revealed the location where I stored it. Then, why was she so sure about it? Lin Che found it very strange. Gu Jingze narrowed his eyes. In any case, the child in her womb cannot be mine. But just for the fact that she came to say these things to you, I'll definitely make her account for it. Forget it. Even if it was your child, I wouldn't be that angry either. Although I felt uncomfortable, indeed, she was deliberately playing dirty tricks. I won't fall for it, Lin Che said while tugging Gu Jingze to her. Gu Jingze looked at Lin Che. You're right, she's deliberately playing dirty tricks. But I can't just watch on as she does that. Anyway, I'll try to find out what's going on. Don't bother with her for the time being. He pressed his forehead to hers and looked at her. I don't want our relationship to be affected by her. Of course, Lin Che blushed and turned her head away. After that incident with Lu Chusha, she now understood that she should take on Gu Jingze's attitude. As long as they ignored those people, they would not be affected by them. Lin Che and Gu Jingze were united in heart, so she had nothing to fear regardless of what Mo Hilling did to interfere in their relationship. She believed that Gu Jingze could handle matters like these. Gu Jingze said, all right. Forget about her. We have to visit the presidential residence today. Huh, we're going to the glazed tile palace. Yes, older brother invited us there. Let's go. We'll discuss this matter again with older brother when we get there. Chapter 536. Blame yourself for having so many unresolved relationship problems. Lin Che arrived at the glazed tile palace with Gu Jingze. Yu Minmin had only just found that Gu Jingming was inviting Gu Jingze over for a meal, so she hastily ushered the two of them in. Minmin. Lin Che smiled and walked towards her. Yu Minmin said, you left the company so abruptly today. I thought something had happened. You're right, there was a slight issue, but it wasn't that serious. Come on, let's go in and talk about it. Gu Jingze glanced at Lin Che as well and nodded at her. Gu Jingming could tell that something was up with Gu Jingze, so he brought him to the study room in the front. Later on, Gu Jingze called Chen Yucheng and asked him to come over. Gu Jingze only told them about the incident after the three of them had gathered in the study room. Chen Yucheng said, that's impossible. The sperm is perfectly stored and I've never told anyone about it too. There are no signs of anyone breaking in either. Gu Jingming said, then, on Miss Mo's end. Gu Jingze shook his head. I don't know why she said that either. Chen Yucheng said, you were the one who told her about it back then. Even though we had agreed not to tell anyone. He glanced at Gu Jingze and spoke sarcastically. Gu Jingze merely sat there and glared at Chen Yucheng. He himself did not understand why he had liked Mo Hilling back then. Only now did he realize how foolish he had been then. How could he put so much trust into a woman like her? Right now, he no longer had any lingering emotions for Mo Hilling. Chen Yucheng said, this matter is easy to settle. Just get her to abort it. Gu Jingze asked, what if she refuses to? Gu Jingming said, you can't drag away the daughter of the Mo family and then get her to abort her child. The situation would get even worse if everyone finds out about it. Hey, even then, it's easy to settle. Get her to give birth to the child. Who cares whose child it is, since it can't be yours anyway. Although we can't be sure. Smiling, Chen Yucheng continued, maybe you accidentally had an affair outside of him. Before he had finished speaking, Gu Jingze cast an oblique glance at him. He quickly pretended that he had said nothing and touched his nose. It wasn't easy for me to come to the glazed tile palace today. Aren't you going to invite me to dinner? Let's go and have dinner. The three of them walked out after ending their discussion. Lin Che had also told Yu Minmin about the incident. Yu Minmin could only sigh and pat her shoulder. Having such a good husband isn't good. If your husband was very ordinary, you wouldn't have to worry about other women eyeing him, right? It's all because your husband is too capable. I wouldn't be able to let him go either. But since you two are united in heart and soul, you don't have to worry about the two of you being torn apart either. Don't worry, Gu Jingze pampers you so much. He won't allow anyone to hurt you. Lin Che said, I'm not worried about this. It's just that you're right. The blame is all Gu Jingze's. It's because of his past romantic history, humph. Just then, seeing that the three of them had walked out of the room, Lin Che and Yu Minmin stood up as well. Gu Jingze came directly to Lin Che's side. He looked at her and took her hand into his. They looked at each other before moving to sit down at the side. Gu Jingze lowered his head and said, I've confirmed that my sperm is still safely stored. Lin Che let out a sound of affirmation. She knew that he had asked Chen Yucheng to come over to confirm that there was nothing wrong. If so, then there was no longer anything to worry about. Chen Yucheng looked at them. While they were eating together, Lin Che asked, Hey, why didn't you bring Yoren with you today? Chen Yucheng asked, Why would I bring her along? Aren't you guys inseparable? You're her master and she's your disciple. Of course, you must be together all the time. There's no reason to bring her along on such official business. Furthermore, Chen Yucheng ate while saying, she's not willing to stick to me all the time either. He sounded so bitter as he said this. Lin Che asked, Why? Is she ignoring you? Chen Yucheng responded, Why don't you go and ask your good friend? Confused, Lin Che wondered what had happened between them. After dinner, she quickly sent her a message on WeChat to ask about it. Yoren, what happened? Did something happen between you and Dr. Chen? Shen Yoren only replied to her text after some time. Nothing happened. Tell me honestly, otherwise, I'll go over and force it out of you. So, Shen Yoren seemed to be deliberating about how to say it. Then, she said, because the gap between us is a little big, people will always spread rumors about us. I don't want to become a burden to him, nor do I want to be with him and implicate him. He deserves better. Hearing this, Lin Che said in disbelief, if what you say is true, then I should have divorced Gu Jingze a long time ago. Don't say that. You've worked so hard and finally achieved what you have today. However, I'm just his student. Even if I succeed, no one would think that it was through my own effort. They would still think that I succeeded because of him. Furthermore, our family backgrounds are too different. My family would really be a burden to him. Also, his family won't approve of us. After reading her message, Lin Che asked in confusion. So, he already confessed to you, but you refused him? Yes, I merely said that I would consider it, but I still feel that we're not a match. Lin Che was really at a loss for words. But she really could not interfere too much in their affairs. After all, it was their relationship problem. She had been through this and knew that no one else's words mattered to those involved. If she had actually listened to the words of others, she would not have been in love with Qin Qing for so many years. Just then, Gu Jingze suddenly appeared behind her. What are you looking at? Frightened, Lin Che turned around and asked gloomily, You, what are you doing? Why did you appear out of nowhere? Gu Jingze said, I was just looking at what you were doing. I'm on WeChat. Why do you guys like WeChat so much? Gu Jingze asked with a confused tone. Lin Che said, an old antique like you wouldn't understand that feeling. Indeed, I don't understand. Gu Jingze had never used any social media applications. He used his phone only for reading the news and nothing else. Lin Che said, people are gossipy by nature. Just by looking at my WeChat Moments page, I can look at what everyone has been up to recently and collect more gossip. I can also boast about my own life. Lin Che showed Gu Jingze her Moments page. She reported only the good news and not the bad. All of her posts contained pictures of pleasant things such as the places she had been to, the things she had seen, the awards she had gotten, and her first day of filming. There was no mention at all of the unpleasant comments and criticism she had received. Gu Jingze asked in disbelief, is this interesting at all? Of course it is. Hee, you wouldn't understand the joy of being pretentious in this lifetime. Should I help you download an application? You'll understand if you try it out. Gu Jingze scowled. Ignoring him, Lin Che took his phone from him immediately. Come, I'll help you download some applications. I won't use them though. Just give it a try. Maybe you'll discover your love for it. Chapter 537. Gu Jingze, you old-fashioned man. Gu Jingze watched as she downloaded an application and registered him for a WeChat account. Lin Che said, "Let me think. What username should I give you? Oh, I know. You'll be called Crazy Cool President." Gu Jingze asked darkly, "What stupid name is that? It's such an apt name for you." "I don't like it." Gu Jingze continued, "Just randomly choose a name." "Fine then, I'll give you an English name." Lin Che smiled at him eerily. Gu Jingze had a skeptical look on his face. Did she even know any English? Smiling, Lin Che spelled out his username in pinyin, Kwangjuaikuba. Gu Jingze frowned while looking at it. "What does this mean?" "I just randomly wrote some alphabets. What do you think it says?" "This sequence of alphabets doesn't really sound like an English word." "It's French, then, whatever. Anyway, we'll just use this." Right after setting this as his username, she saw many people requesting to add him. They were likely people in Gu Jingze's contact list. After registering for a WeChat account with this phone number, his WeChat account was automatically recommended to the people in his contact list on their WeChats. Lin Che glanced at his phone and saw quite a number of people requesting to add him. She turned her head and asked, "Who are these people? Do you want to add them?" "Oh, sure, all of them are my relatives and friends." They're probably the people in your contact list." "Okay." Gu Jingze was not very familiar with how WeChat worked and merely stood by watching. Lin Che added many people at once. Someone immediately sent a message expressing surprise, stating, "No way, Jingze. I can't believe a 10,000-year-old antique like you actually opened a WeChat account." Even Lu Baikan sent a message asking in astonishment, "Jingze, is that you? Or has your phone been stolen?" Lin Che replied disbelievingly, "It's me, Lin Che. I opened a WeChat account for him to try. I'm teaching him how to keep up with the latest trends." After reading this, Lu Baikan replied, "I knew it. There's no way he would open a WeChat account. He scared me to death. I thought I was dreaming. Hee. I hope you contact him often on WeChat in the future." After setting everything up, Lin Che took a photo on the spot. The photo she had taken was of their dinner. Then, she posted the photo on her Moments page with the caption, "Dinner was really delicious, as expected of the glazed tile palace tilde." She would not have dared to say on her Moments page that she was in the glazed tile palace. She knew that doing so would trigger a massive reaction. Recently, she had been involved in many scandals. Thus, it was not appropriate for her to post boastful photos all the time, lest she receive even more criticism. But it was probably fine to use Gu Jingze's account to boast. However, the moment she uploaded the photo, many people quickly left comments. "What the hell, Gu Jingze? Are you crazy? Someone tell me whether or not this is Gu Jingze. Could he have lost his phone? Gu Jingze, I can't believe you posted on your Moments page, you." In just a short time, he got dozens of comments. Lin Che burst out in laughter reading them. In the blink of an eye, she saw that Lu Baikan had added Gu Jingze into a group. Lin Che sent a message on WeChat asking, "What group is this?" "It's a group for our club. We're all business people, don't worry, there are no outsiders." Because Lin Che was sending the messages in Gu Jingze's name, everyone else in the group immediately appeared. Gu Jingze was added into the group. "Is this Gu Jingze? No way. President Gu, long time no see. Why are you always not around when I go to your company?" "President Gu, the 2 billion RMB in funds haven't been transferred. Please speed it up a bit." "President Gu, I've seen the progress on that big bridge your family is building. Construction is too slow. You should have asked to work with me back then. It's impossible to work with small companies. If it were my company, there would be 30 teams working on construction every minute of the day. We would build the bridge for you within a month." Lin Che could only respond with a sad emoticon. At the same time, she privately messaged Lu Baikan, "No way. Who are all these people? It's just a business group. Relax. All of them know Jingze and often make deals with him. They can contact Gu Jingze even if they're not in the group. Just tell Jingze and he'll know. Of course, I wouldn't randomly let people unrelated to him disturb him. That wasn't what I meant either. I just thought that what they said was really strange. Of course. The group comprises people from C Nation's top construction companies, the president of Rongji Engineering, the president of MK Group, the president of Stratford. Anyway, just these people. Wow, that's impressive. Seeing those names, they did indeed seem to be names that Lin Che often saw on the television and on the internet. She instantly felt very superior. Seeing that she was still chatting away, Gu Jingze moved closer to her and asked, "What are you doing?" Lin Che said, "He just added you into a business chat group. If anything crops up, just settle it yourself. I've already set up the basic things." She returned Gu Jingze his phone and said, "All of them were already in the WeChat group, but you didn't even have a WeChat account. You're seriously too behind the times." Gu Jingze looked at her. "It's just that I've never really participated in group activities, so I never made a WeChat account either." Fine then. It was because he was used to keeping a low profile. She said, "If you don't want to take part in the conversation, you can just turn your screen off. You don't necessarily have to take part. On the other hand, you can still look at their conversation whenever you want to. Now that we're in an information society, you may come across some information from them. If you see any business opportunities or things like that, you can make use of the information. That would be good too." Gu Jingze figured that she was right. He could ignore it if he wanted to anyway. He could also open the chat if he wanted to. However, just then, Lu Baikan suddenly sent another message. "Jingze, what's up with your WeChat username?" There was no way he would believe that Gu Jingze himself had decided on this username. Gu Jingze responded with, "Crazy cool master. It is in fact quite fitting, but it isn't good to be so blunt, right?" Lu Baikan said. Only then did Gu Jingze realize. Lin Che. Behind him, Lin Che had seen Lu Baikan's message and was already making a quick escape. Gu Jingze shook his head disbelievingly. In any case, given his extraordinary capabilities, he was able to quickly locate the setting and change his username although he had never used WeChat. This Lin Che. Thereafter, Lin Che quickly added Gu Jingze to her list of contacts too and said, "I already saved my username in your contact list. You can send me a message on WeChat if anything's up. Can't I just call you if anything's up? If I miss the call, you can still leave me a comment. I'll see it the moment I use my phone." The two of them began discussing their WeChat pages. The others watched the married couple across them and could not believe what they were seeing. Yu Minmin escorted them out of the glazed tile palace. Lin Che said, "That's enough. I feel so bad having Madam President personally escort me out. If you dare say another word of nonsense, hey. Since Gu Jingze registered for a WeChat account, why didn't you get him to add me?" Lin Che said, "Why do you need to add him? With Gu Jingze in my WeChat contact list, my level of pretentiousness will be greatly increased." Rubbish. If Gu Jingze posts something on his page, I'll be able to see it too. Lin Che said, "I reckon Gu Jingze won't do such a thing of his own accord." Yu Minmin narrowed her eyes and held Lin Che by the neck, threatening her. "I don't care. Quick, go and add me to his contact list. Otherwise, I'll make sure you're always busy next month so that you won't have time to go home and have sex with him." Chapter 538. This is what becoming one truly feels like. How could she threaten her like this? Lin Che could only say, okay, I'll add you when I get back. I'll steal Gu Jingze's phone and add you to his list when I get home, alright? That's more like it." Lin Che and Gu Jingze returned home together. She lay down and said, "So many people were surprised that you opened a WeChat account. Wouldn't the entire C Nation quake if you opened a Weibo page?" Gu Jingze responded, "Why?" Lin Che said, "Think about it. With the number of female fans you have, many people will definitely follow your page immediately. They'll send you photos of themselves and ask to be your lover." "Humph, I can't open a Weibo page for you." Gu Jingze asked, "Do you think I'd let them be my lovers just because they send me photos? Surely I can't be that low class." That's true, even without a Weibo page, he clearly had many female fans. Gu Jingze leaned in closer and saw that Lin Che actually had many fans on her Weibo page. "You have quite a number of fans now," Gu Jingze said. Lin Che said proudly, of course. I've already reached a fan count of 10 million. But it's only half the number of fans Gu Jingze has. Ah, women can never have as many female fans as men can, since the ones paying attention to celebrities are mostly females. Of course, girls like boys, since they're attracted to those of the opposite sex, but I feel content anyway. When I first opened my Weibo account back then, I only had a few hundred fans, you know. Just then, Gu Jingze's phone started ringing. Li Mingyu was calling him. Gu Jingze knew that he was spending a lot of time with Mo Hilling. He narrowed his eyes for a moment and did not want to answer the call. However, Lin Che saw that Li Mingyu was calling him. She looked at him and asked, "What's wrong, is it Mo Hilling?" Gu Jingze's eyes twitched. He breathed in and said, "It may be." Lin Che said, "Just answer the call. If you don't, how will you know what she's trying to do?" She was right. He would not be able to plan his next step if he did not know what Mo Hilling wanted to do. He had to ask her what exactly she was doing. Prior to this, he had already blocked Mo Hilling's number. Furthermore, outsiders ordinarily could not call him since unfamiliar numbers would be automatically be blocked. Perhaps Mo Hilling had no choice but to use Li Mingyu's phone. He guessed that this was probably the case. Sure enough, he picked up the phone and heard Mo Hilling's voice. Jingze, through the phone, Mo Hilling's voice triggered numerous unpleasant memories in Gu Jingze's mind. His voice turned steely as he asked, "Is anything the matter?" "Jingze, did Lin Che already tell you?" Mo Hilling asked bluntly without formality. "Stop wasting time. Just tell me frankly what you want," Gu Jingze said. Mo Hilling asked, "Jingze, how can you be so fierce towards me?" "I'm not being fierce towards you. We have nothing to do with each other now. I'm only picking up your call because I want to clarify things with you." "Fine, let's meet now and talk about it since you want to clarify things with me. Just tell me over the phone." "No way, I'll only speak to you in person. Otherwise, I'll give birth to your child and appear before Lin Che with him. I don't believe the two of you will be able to continue your relationship smoothly then." Gu Jingze drew in a deep breath. Beside him, Lin Che hastily said, "Gu Jingze, be rational tilde." Gu Jingze turned to look at Lin Che. In the end, he nodded at the phone. "Fine, we'll talk about it in person." Lin Che looked at Gu Jingze. "It's always better to clarify things regardless of the circumstances. Anyway, we don't have to fear her since our conscience is clear." Gu Jingze asked, "Does it really not bother you?" Lin Che pouted. "Forget it, everyone has had their fair share of past relationships. Besides, you were in love with her for so many years." Then, Gu Jingze had pushed her against the wall. "Yes, before you appeared." His face was suddenly so close. Lin Che looked at him and said, What did I do?" "I didn't do anything." Gu Jingze gazed at her deeply. "You seduced me, and you still say that's nothing?" Lin Che thought, she was not the one who had seduced him. Fine, he was right. She had, in fact, drugged him by mistake. But she was also a victim. Wait a minute, what did Gu Jingze mean? "So did I successfully seduce you?" Lin Che blushed. "You did." Gu Jingze lowered his head and sniffed at her hair. "You seduced me to the point that I think about devouring you every minute and every second of the day." "Hey, stop it, you." Gu Jingze pushed her down immediately. With her chin between his teeth, he gently pried her clothes off. "If you really are jealous, then why don't you give birth to my child?" "What?" But that experience without a condom truly made her discover how wonderful it felt. Since she did not want to use it now, then they should simply go ahead without it. "Just a few short times will do. I want to feel what it's like to really become one with you." He kissed her lips with his amazing technique, sending her into a mental flurry of excitement. Why does using a condom mean we can't meld into one?" "No, you don't understand how men feel. I mean it, the feeling of ejaculating into your body is incomparable." "Then, in the past why were you so cautious?" "That's because I didn't want to hurt you." "So now you want to hurt me?" "Now I want to seduce you into giving birth to my children and take the chance to properly meld with you a few times." Gu Jingze pulled the collar of her shirt open with his teeth and buried his head in her chest. Feeling an unbearable itch, Lin Che's entire body curled up as she embraced him. The next day, in Gu Jingze's office, Mo Hiling angrily pushed the door open and walked in. She immediately saw Gu Jingze sitting smack in the center of the room. Her eyes instantly grew moist. How long had it been since she had seen this memorable face? It was only after actually leaving him that she felt like she had really lost everything. She had been the subject of everyone's envy when they had been together, because of his perfection, his handsome appearance, his wealth, his power, his everything. But once she left him, she immediately became nothing. Even though she was still the young miss of the Mo family, everyone now viewed her in a completely different light. When it came to Li Mingyu, she could tell that he really did treat her quite well. However, no matter how she looked at him, she thought that he would never be as good as Gu Jingze. After being together with Gu Jingze, she was destined to never be able to accept any other man in this lifetime. She looked at Gu Jingze and wailed, "Jingze, why did you ask to meet me at the company? Can't you come to my house? It's not like you don't know where my house is." "Regretfully, I can't go." "Why?" "Because I don't want to." "Isn't that answer enough?" Gu Jingze's gaze hardened. "I'm only here with you because I wanted to ask you what on earth the matter regarding the child is about." Mo Hiling's gaze only softened when she heard this. He was right. She still had his child. Chapter 539. I won't let any of you be happy if I'm not happy. The child is the product of the love between you and me. Jingze, do you want to touch my belly? Our child is right inside. Enough. Gu Jingze's voice was ice cold and immediately made Mo Hiling freeze. What's wrong? Gu Jingze stood up. Step by step, he walked towards Mo Hiling with an air of hostility. You better get this straight. Your child isn't mine. Mo Hiling looked at him. The first thing she felt was a shock. She had not expected him to suddenly be so aggressive. Then, she felt a chill run through her heart. Huh, what did you say? Gu Jingze, do you not even want your own child? I don't even know where you got this child and now, you're saying it's mine. Miss Mo, the reason I'm meeting you today is to clarify things with you so that you'll stop causing trouble, Gu Jingze said rudely. Mo Hiling scoffed, you're the one who has to get it straight. Gu Jingze, you seem to have forgotten what you once told me. You stored your sperm away for the sake of our future together. How else do you think I became pregnant with your child? It was because of that. That represents the love between us, so I took it and used it. I kept the product of our love intact, yet you don't want to acknowledge it. It's pointless for you to deny it. The child is yours. Gu Jingze sneered. I don't know how you got the idea that this child is mine. But there's nothing wrong with the sperm I stored away. It's in perfect condition. I'm sure that the child in your stomach cannot be mine. So you must be mad if you're trying to push the child to me. Mo Hiling nearly fainted from anger. But she knew that the child was definitely Gu Jingze's. He simply did not want to acknowledge it. A long time passed before she finally heaved a sigh. You don't want to acknowledge this child, right? It's fine, it's fine. It doesn't matter even if you deny it. One day, you'll definitely admit that the child is yours. It's yours. Gu Jingze said, forget it. I have nothing more to say to you. Give birth to it if you want to. But if you give birth to it only because you think it's mine, I'm telling you to stop being delusional. The child you give birth to will not be mine. But if you still insist that it is, then go look for the father of the child after it's born. Whoever it is has nothing to do with me. Without waiting for Mo Hiling to speak again, Gu Jingze immediately shouted, Chin Hao, see the guest out. Mo Hiling still wanted to struggle, but the bodyguards were already here. Left with no choice, Mo Hiling could only furiously say, fine, fine. Gu Jingze, we'll see. I can't believe you're such a heartless man. In that case, don't blame me for being harsh to you too. Without even sparing her a glance, Gu Jingze gestured directly for the door to be closed. After leaving, Mo Hiling dismissed them with a wave of her hand. I'm warning all of you. I have in my womb the successor to the Gu family. If you so much as touch me and hurt the child, every single one of you can forget about staying alive. Everyone looked at one another in astonishment. What did that mean? Could it be that Miss Mo was pregnant with Sir's child? Then, what about Madam? Mo Hiling left in a fit of fury. Her face was still overcast when she met up with Li Mingyu. As if he had predicted that this would happen, he sighed to her before saying, I told you that it was pointless. Why, did Gu Jingze chase you out? We should go back and wait until the child is born. Get lost. Mo Hiling continued bluntly, I won't wait. I want Lin Che gone this instant. A hen that doesn't lay eggs is useless to the Gu family. It's been so long but there's no sign of anything happening in her womb. It's obvious that she's a useless woman. On the other hand, I got pregnant so easily. I don't believe that the Gu family would ignore this child. What about you? Unable to argue with her, this was the only thing he could say as he looked at her. Mo Hiling said, I expected Gu Jingze to be nicer to me on account of our romantic past. I never thought that he would actually be so indifferent towards me. If that's the case. Even if I can't have his heart for myself, I absolutely will not allow Lin Che to live a happy life with him. Why should they have that right? Everything that Lin Che has now belongs to me. This child is also something I deserve. It's what he left for me back then. And now, he won't acknowledge it. I won't allow that. When Mo Hiling finished speaking, she gestured for Li Mingyu to start the engine. At the same time, she said to him, find out for me what the Gu family's schedule will be like these days. Li Mingyu said, are you planning to tell the Gu family? Of course. Mo Hiling sighed and said, but I can't get close to the Gu family. Ever since I had that messy breakup with Gu Jingze, it's been even more impossible. Even before this, the Gu family did not look upon me kindly. Now, it'll be even more difficult to convince them to meet me. There's nothing I can do about it either. Li Mingyu shook his head. Why did she have to insist on meeting members of the Gu family when they had ill feelings towards her? The Gu family did indeed have schedules over the next few days. They were making preparations for ancestral worship as they would be visiting their ancestors' graves nearing the Ghost Festival. In actual fact, they had already visited the graves once during tomb sweeping day. However, their family was large, their business empire massive, and their rules even more numerous. The men of the Gu family were required to worship their ancestors together. Although the women were not required to go, they still had to return to the Gu residence for a meal. Gu Jingze had informed Lin Che of this a long time ago. The maids would get everything ready and the only thing she had to do on that day was to choose a plain suit of clothes to wear. However, before that day arrived, Chen Yucheng called to ask Lin Che if Shen Yoren was with her. Lin Che was extremely confused and simply asked, what happened to her? Yoren isn't with me. Are you looking for her? You're right, I'm looking for her, but she isn't at home. What's going on? Will you tell me? Chen Yucheng drew in a deep breath and said helplessly, actually, my family came back from America. I'm afraid that they went looking for Yoren. What? I'll go over to her house right now to check up on her. Alright, I'll go over too. Lin Che quickly called for someone to bring the car and rushed to Shen Yoren's house first. As expected, Shen Yoren was not at home. Lin Che had been here before when she had run away from home, so she had the keys to the apartment. She had yet to return the keys to Shen Yoren. After entering the apartment, she realized that it was spotlessly clean and completely empty. Just then, Chen Yucheng also arrived and quickly walked in. Seeing that there was no one other than Lin Che inside, he then said, she didn't pick up when I called her. Where do you think she could have gone? I don't know, but are you sure that your family won't hurt Yoren? Lin Che was worried that it was actually his family that had taken Shen Yoren away. With his face set in a deep frown, Chen Yucheng did not know what to say. I hope not. So you mean to say that it's possible? Chen Yucheng said, I've already looked for Yoren in all the places that she might have gone to based on my understanding of her. But I still couldn't find her. Right now, I can't think of any other place where she might be. Forget it, forget it. We'll look for her again. Think about who last saw her. I think she left the company this morning, Chen Yucheng said. In no time, he left to look for her. However, he received a call from his family while looking for her. Yucheng, come back to America with us. Chen Yucheng paused. You really went to look for Yoren, right? Chapter 540. Love is a matter only for the two people involved. The person on the other end of the line said, "Yu Cheng, we understand that you like this girl. She's very simple-minded and cute too. However, she's not a match for our family. We still prefer Laya. Why don't you give it a try and spend some time with her? You may find that you can get along with her well." "Mother, I don't do useless things. Do you think that I would give up on a woman that I already have chemistry with now just to give it a try with her?" Chen Yucheng simply asked. "Where did she go?" "Yucheng. You just have to tell me where she went." "All right, we met at the Y River Hotel. After that, I saw her walk along the river." Chen Yucheng immediately hung up. With Lin Che in tow, he quickly rushed to the Y River Hotel. It was located in a resort district and many people would go there for a stroll during their vacation. She probably walked here to drive away her cares right after meeting his mother. Chen Yucheng went in first to look for her with Lin Che following behind him. Lin Che was about to go in as well, but someone recognized her at the doorway. "Lin Che, that woman over there is Lin Che, right?" Lin Che was immediately surrounded. She said politely, "Nice to meet you, nice to meet you." "Thank you." But in a blink of an eye, her figure was lost among them. She said helplessly, "Thank you for everyone's support, but I'm on official business. Can you?" But everyone was extremely enthusiastic to meet a celebrity on the streets. Most of them were not really fans of Lin Che, they had just rushed to join the crowd so that they could be a part of the bustle. Behind her, the Gu family's bodyguards went into action. Only then did Lin Che finally get some space. If not for them, she would have nearly been suffocated by the crowd closing in on her. Thereafter, the Gu family's bodyguards took action and very quickly cleared the crowd. Lin Che even heard someone shouting, "Wow," as expected of a celebrity. She brought so many bodyguards with her. Enough, forget it since she doesn't want to be seen. Let's not look at her. Lin Che thought to herself, "No, no, you're the ones who are formidable enough to force us to dispatch our bodyguards." And on the other side, Chen Yucheng had found Shen Yoren in next to no time. Shen Yoren did not think that she would actually make it easier for the two of them to find her just by looking for a place to be alone. Chen Yucheng called out, "Shen Yoren." She turned around and saw Chen Yucheng walking towards her. She looked up in shock. "Why are you here?" Chen Yucheng pulled Shen Yoren towards him in one swift motion. "You're asking me, I'm asking you, why are you here?" Shen Yoren pursed her lips. "Dr. Chen, I just..." Chen Yucheng interrupted her. "Regardless of what they said, what happens between you and me only concerns us both. You better remember this. If you make a decision on your own without discussing it with me, I definitely won't forgive you." Shen Yoren froze and looked up at him. However, he had already pulled Shen Yoren into his embrace. Leaning against his chest, Shen Yoren was stunned. Although he had told her prior to this that they should try dating, the feeling she got then was different from how she felt now. His words had not seemed very heartfelt, he had simply said that they should try dating. But now, she admired him a lot and found him pretty impressive. He was respected and enjoyed esteem as one of the top psychologists and one of the top doctors in clinical psychology as well. He was Dr. Chen, whom everyone idolized. He was also her good mentor. But right now, he had unexpectedly hugged her out of nowhere. Lin Che finally arrived after that. Panting, she saw the two of them locked in an intimate embrace. She beat her breast gloomily while gasping, "Shen Yoren, you really almost killed me. I was nearly squeezed to death by the crowd." Shen Yoren's face was red as she said, What did I do? I just came here for a stroll. Why did you guys make such a big deal out of it?" In any case, they took Shen Yoren with them and returned together. Throughout the journey, Lin Che kept complaining, "Look at yourself. You were so rational when you were criticizing me, but why are you being so emotional now? It doesn't matter what they do to you. It's not as if you're going to get married to him immediately. Your relationship has only just started, so why are you getting sad so soon? Don't give up on all hope. No one knows what may happen in the future. So, if you love each other, just get together. Why are you thinking so much about the future?" Shen Yoren said, all right. It was just that I nearly died from shock because so many people came to the office and asked me in front of my colleagues whether or not I was Shen Yoren. She had not expected the members of the Chen family to be so serious. All of them seemed to have a very strong presence and were definitely different from simple folk like her, so she was scared upon seeing them. The good thing was as she looked at Chen Yucheng right now, she figured that there was no need for her to think so much at this point in time. It was not as if he had said that they should get married. Shen Yoren said, "All right. Take me home, please. I was supposed to be home for dinner with my parents today, but I'm still not back. If you guys got anxious, my parents must be very anxious too. I should go back and take a look. Or else, they will think that I've gone missing like you guys." Lin Che nodded. She looked at Shen Yoren and said to her, "Remember that we're here for you if anything happens. Don't let your thoughts run wild on your own. What are friends for? We're here to sacrifice ourselves for you when the time comes. How can you just run away without giving us a chance to do that?" "Yes, yes, yes. I get it. I won't do it again." Shen Yoren leaned into her embrace. It felt great to have a friend who was by her side and worrying about her. No matter what, she felt like she was not fighting alone. At the Shen family home, Shen Yoren bid the two of them goodbye and headed upstairs first. After opening the door and walking in, she said, "Father, Mother, I'm home. Something happened in the afternoon, so I didn't come back." However, the moment she entered, she saw her parents come out of their room in surprise. Shen Yoren's mother looked at her with a flushed face. "Yoren, you're back. Are you all right?" Shen Yoren thought that there was something off about her mother's expression. "Of course I'm fine. What did you think would happen to me?" She narrowed her eyes and looked at her ever-transparent mother. "Mother, did people from the Chen family come to look for you?" Only then did her mother sigh and look at Shen Yoren. "Yoren, why don't you just give up? I know that a good man like Dr. Chen is hard to come by. He's rich, powerful, loaded with money, has status, and his family is made up of public officials. However, we're not good enough for a family like that." Shen Yoren said, "Mother, love is a matter only for the two people involved. How is it related to what his family does?" But her mother's expression was still very strange. She looked like she had something to say but dared not say it. Furthermore, her father was basically looking elsewhere and staying completely silent. Their behavior was very strange. She said, "Father, Mother, tell me the truth. What exactly is happening?" Her father finally said, "Can't you just tell her?" He pulled Shen Yoren closer and said, "The Chen family gave us some money on the condition that we look for another ordinary household and you reject the Chen family. We got the money and our good days are ahead." Shen Yoren looked at him in shock. "How much?" Her father said, 3 million. 3 million. That much. Her mother suddenly remembered it. She felt as if a meat pie had literally fallen down from the sky. Seriously, these rich people are so impressive. This is what being rich means. They can fork out money so easily and aren't at all indecisive. Your father already went to the bank to take a look. The money has already been transferred. My goodness, we'll be able to move into a big house in the future. That's enough, Mother.